Time to continue with our final session here on the Banco Sabadell stage this morning. And we're going to be continuing with the FinTech Summit, the FinTech program of talks that have been taking place elsewhere here at 4 years from now. If there's a technology that's sprung up for many of us, not all of us, but for many of us, out of nowhere over the last 12 months and has captured public imagination, certainly, and it sits in this intersection between technology and creativity and copyright, then it is NFTs. Our next guest here on the stage today will help us to understand a bit more about what NFTs are, maybe what they are not, and hopefully present us with a bit of a vision for what they will be able to do for us, what value they will be able to bring for us in the future. So please welcome to the stage for our next session here on NFTs. It is the CEO and founder of Mint NFT, James Sun. There he is. Hello, James.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, good afternoon. It's great to be here in Barcelona and in Europe. And we're today going to talk a little bit about this major concept about the metaverse, the NFT world, and what's happening to brands around this concept. First, my name is James Sun. I'm the founder and CEO of Mint NFT. I started my career at Intel as an embedded software engineer, but my creative love for creativity goes back to my grandfather. He was actually a Chinese calligraphy artist, and so he taught me two things very valuable about art. Number one, in Chinese calligraphy, it's not about only the end image, but it's how you actually stroke each character that tells a story. So the storytelling is so important. And the second thing that he taught me was there's a difference between being a spectator of the art versus actually drawing the art. Because when you draw it, you are contributing, you're collaborating, and you effectively become ownership and have ownership over the work that you do. This is really something that inspired me to actually start Mint NFT. So Mint NFT is an NFT platform that we are bringing to the new world around how brands could actually build into the Web3 a strategy for engagement of users. But I want to talk a little bit about this idea of the creation story. Every brand has a rich history, if it actually has a long history, or it might be a new brand crafting their new story. But a new creation story is a concept of something that I really want to focus on today. But what does this really mean for brands in the Web3 world? A lot of people ask me, James, what is Web3? Is it the metaverse? Is it NFTs? Is it blockchain? What does this all mean exactly? Today, I'm going to simplify it from a consumer perspective first. Really, Web3 is about consumers not wanting to be owned, but they want to be owners. It's changing the world to an ownership economy, and that's the essence of Web3. In this slide, you'll see that we have all been bombarded by ads before, where we've watched ads. How many Nike commercials have you seen, right? But do you remember the very first pair of Nikes that you owned? I remember this very distinctly. On the bottom here, these are the David Robinson pump that Nike came out back in the days. And they're my very first pair of Nikes. And when I felt opening the box, putting the shoes on, every advertisement that I watch came to life. So there's a difference of what happens in engagement of ownership. How many of you have actually sat through a timeshare presentation? And you know that you don't, and you're not going to ultimately own the building, but just you're owning a piece of time. But when you bought your first home or your beach house, that feeling, the pride of ownership, is something that's embedded in us. In fact, there was a study done at the University of Waterloo, and I'm just going to read you some stats about ownership and children. We're going to go way back to the basics. Young children show signs of ownership at age 2. They say the word mine. And where this comes from is that they are asserting control over what is theirs. They're asserting ownership behaviorally. For example, when toddlers are told that a toy is theirs, they are more likely to maintain possession than when the toddler is told that this toy is for the whole class. Children aged 3 and 4 also appear that when someone creatively labors on something, for they work on Play-Doh or Legos, and they add creative talent to it, children think the ownership transfers. There's an interesting study here where children aged 3 to 5 saw a girl, and this girl had 2 beautiful wagons in front of her. One was way more beautiful, and the other one was okay. So what the psychologists did was they said to the other kids in the audience, which wagon do you think she likes more? So all the kids said, well, obviously the shiny, beautiful one. And then they switched it up. Another group of kids came in, and they told the kids, she owns this one, the one that's not as pretty. And this one was still as pretty. And then they asked the question again, which one do you think she likes more? And all the kids said, she likes the one that's not as pretty. Whereas the first group said, she likes the one that's pretty. So what does this mean about ownership? We love to own. We're born this way. We love to own our house instead of rent. We love to own our cars instead of rent. We're born to love to own. So what we're going to discuss today is this concept of Web3. How we got here. We didn't get here just in 1 year. The metaverse has been in works since Web 1.0. So we're going to study how this all came about and the implications it has for global brands. So remember the old sites and brands would shout at users, literally shout at users. It was the days of banner ads that were so in your face. And this is what we were accustomed to in Web 1.0. And it was all about CPMs and click-through rates. And we paid for those as brands. But then what happened in Web 2.0 was we got smart. We said personalization is key. We can now follow the user around wherever they go. The mobile phone and social added the perfect storm to actually target ads at the most but we're smart, but something else happened. This concept called privacy. So now, after Web 1.0 and 2.0, look what's happening to our world. Forbes just reported that Apple's change of the privacy policy is going to put a blow to Facebook or Meta of $10 billion. That's a serious blow. Now, does this mean that Facebook or Meta has been wrong? No, they're just in the Web 2.0 world. And the world is changing. The consumer psychology and behavior is changing. What they're saying is that the consumer is telling brands, don't own me. I want to be an owner with you. And so it's this new concept of the ownership economy, which is really driving Web 3.0. So now we're going to get into NFTs. NFTs are non-fungible tokens. And many of you know them as possibly digital art. Morgan Stanley predicts that this market for luxury goods will be $56 billion very quickly by 2030. I was just in Paris this last week meeting with luxury brands like Balmain, L'Oreal. We had meetings with Chanel and Cartier. So I have firsthand knowledge of how these brands are thinking about the metaverse and NFTs into their brand strategies. But let me tell you, read this statement. Imagine a world where you could convert casual fans into an army of tastemakers, collectors, creators, and owners. Empowering this army with ownership, incentivizing them to promote your brand wherever you go. That would be an incredible, incredible thing to happen for a brand. If you gave this statement to any consumer brand and said, imagine, instead of you speaking at them, they are speaking about your brand because they own a piece of your brand. So if the strategy is actually put in place the right way, you could leverage this as a brand and have lower advertising costs and have more genuine discussions about your brand. And how does this work with NFTs? Well, in the NFT world, basically what happens is in the blockchain, depending on, as you know, there's probably many blockchains, but in the blockchain, when you own an NFT, there's a ledger that says this wallet owns this NFT. And it's non-fungible. It's in a smart contract. So what that effectively means is that when you purchase that NFT, on the ledger, you own that NFT. Nobody could take it away unless you transfer ownership. So almost think about it like a ledger that you register your car in your country. So when you buy a car, you register your car at the local, state, or national level, and everyone knows, if they look up the car, who owns it. It doesn't mean that necessarily you drive the car only. Your husband or wife, or your friend, or girlfriend, boyfriend, they might be driving the car. But there's only one owner. And that's the key about NFTs. It's about being an owner of this asset or the brand. So what does ownership really mean at the end of the day? So this is a framework of ownership. And as you can see on the top, we'll start from the very top. It's value creation. When you own something, you care about the preservation of value. You want it either to stay at equal value or you want it to appreciate, because we've all learned assets are better than things that depreciate. So we want ownership over things that actually go up in value. The second one, portability. If you own something, you deserve to take it wherever you want to go. If you own something, no one should tell you that you can't take it wherever you want to go. Portability is key. Third one, transparency. How do I know that you own something? So let's say you come up to me and says, James, hey, I own a Ferrari. I go, great. How do I know you really own that Ferrari? I might say, yeah, if I'm going to buy it from you, I need to see your records. I need to see that you have the title. So really, it's about transparency in order to actually conduct transactions. So if you don't know someone owns something, how could you buy it from them? So the blockchain is an open ledger. It's for anyone to see. All of us could come to an agreement that that person owns a Ferrari. That's pretty cool. That means it's opening up data. It's opening up information. It's empowering people to actually have trust in a trustless world. And so it's really about the transparency of data that the blockchain can actually disintermediate so many centralized powers that might be trying to control that narrative. And last but not least here is community. Who else owns things that I care about? If I care about Ferraris, I probably want to hang out with some guys who love Ferraris. If I care about fashion, I might want to hang out with people who care about fashion. So the question is here, are you creating new owners of your brand, or are you still speaking at your consumers? Our world is changing very rapidly. We're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on Telegram, and we see the news every day. And things around our world are just crazy right now. This COVID situation really, really changed the world. If you think that people are gonna go back to work the way that we used to, you better think twice. I have friends at Microsoft at the highest level, and Facebook and Google, and they're telling me that the world is not going to go back to the way that we used to live. 40% of adults say that they use digital technology that now is different and impacts their lives. You look at the Gen Z. The Gen Z now, their digital life impacts them more of where they feel comfortable and who they are. We're at an inflection point. So in this ownership economy, it also works for employers. If you think your employees are going to be owned, you gotta think twice. You're gonna have to give them more ownership of their time, of their values, of their creative skills, of their freedom. Our expectations for brands are higher than ever before. We want brands that are authentic. We want brands that are responsive and experience first. The days of just showing an image and saying, hey, buy my brand are over. Consumers want experiential. I was at Art Basel in December in Miami, and I saw the best brands creating experiences, not speaking at their users. Web3 embodies all of these. In Web3, users, consumers, they want to use this for good. They want to organize opportunities to help the community, to solve problems that they've always wanted to solve as individuals but couldn't do it alone. Creatives, they want to turn into artists. They don't want to be managed by an agency. They want to go direct to their fans. They want to speak directly to their fans in an authentic way. And most of all, in the Web3 world, they want to cultivate community. Whether it's Discord, Twitter, wherever you want to do it, but they want to cultivate community, find others that are like them. So decentralization does not mean that there's not organization. It just means that they want to own their organization. But the meta and NFT world are still deciding who it wants to be. It's new. If you think you're too late for crypto, for blockchain, NFTs, it's just starting. Just starting. I've been in it since 2017, and I'll tell you, we're at the tip of the iceberg. It's just beginning. But because it's so new, many of us don't understand it. So we try to make sense of it with things that are familiar to us. So a lot of people say, well, I think an NFT is like, it's kind of like the Mona Lisa. It's an original, but it's digital, like a trading card almost. So people try to put the NFT into their understanding of an experience, like a one-of-a-kind trading card. And this is good in terms of trying to understand the comfortable nature of what your background is to associate the context. But we also have a lot of fears. In this world of crypto, there's a lot of fears. You know, is this like the new finance bro 2.0 thing, where only the insiders are making a bunch of money? Rug pulls, Ponzi schemes, fraud. These are all the fears that we have, and they're legitimate fears, because when there's wild, wild west, you're going to have things and bad actors. Infringement of rights. You know, how do you know that the NFT was properly owned by the IP rights holder before they NFT'd it? So these are issues that the industry is working to solve today. So how do we transcend the polarization of Web3 to really understand this? The answer starts by understanding what the consumer or the fan really wants. They want to work with their brands. They want to work with TV shows. They want to work with anything that is of the passionate of theirs that transcends it because it's part of their identity and way of life. Now we don't just wear clothes. We think about how we are represented wearing those clothes. We don't just buy a car because it's expensive. We think about how we are represented in that car. So consumers and fans want authenticity and shared values with the brands that they use. They're not going to work with the brand because the shared values are not the same, especially the Gen Z. They want equity, they want reciprocity, they want people to be treated equal. They want inspiration and co-creation. They want to be part of the conversation of the creative narrative, not just being told that this is what they have to believe and love. This is what the consumer and the fan wants in this Web 3.0 world. So some successful activations for brands need to be thoughtful extensions of their brands and their communities. The key is community. They need to succeed by working with the needs and behaviors that are meaningful to the consumers. Things that really bring in a storytelling experience versus just something that is spoken again at them. If you're an owner, you want to be part of the community. So these are a few activations that have worked very well. When you look at Dapper Labs and NBA Top Shots, they did a great job involving the fan. Dolce & Gabbana, they did an interesting, very interesting NFT campaign involving their fashionistas. And Blau, he sold $11 million worth of NFTs to his fans. So a lot of these brands that did this well engaged the fan. They didn't sell at the fan. So they weren't going after the crypto audience to make money. They thought about how to provide value and something interesting and experiential to their existing fans. So my company, what's our playbook? First, our goal is to make NFTs simple, safe, and social for all. We want to help brands reinterpret their story for a new generation. Just last month, we launched a Barbie Balmain NFT that you see right up here. And it was an interesting campaign because if you think about Barbie and Balmain, sometimes you don't think they would go together. Barbie's for little kids, and the price point is accessible. Balmain's a couture brand, it's very expensive. So why would they do something together for an NFT campaign? Well, the designer at Balmain is a very famous guy named Olivier, and he had a vision. The vision was he wanted Balmain to still be very, very couture, but he wanted to show that there's accessibility around the line of clothing and fashion within even Balmain. And so by partnering with Barbie, it introduced a new concept where both audiences could benefit. This campaign, we spent 0 paid advertisement. Barbie spent 0. Mattel spent 0. Balmain spent 0. No paid ads. 1.2 billion impressions. All in 6 days. If you do activations right, if you engage the fan, what we did was we actually had an event, a virtual event. The president of Mattel, the CMO of Balmain, got on a virtual event, invited all their fans to attend, and the first 5,000 got a free NFT. 20,000 tried to register. 5,000 got their first NFT. And so they signed up, they attended a virtual event, and then that kicked off the concept of the auction. So we auctioned off 3 one-of-one NFTs, and they went for $15,000 to $20,000 each. And yes, it is a digital image. It's an NFT that went for $15,000 to $20,000. But because 5,000 people were able to experience getting their first NFT just by attending a virtual event, it created engagement and inclusivity. We also have introduced this concept called video provenance. And this is a patent-pending tool for us. As I mentioned, the blockchain shows transfer of ownership in terms of the asset. But how do you know if that original person or the organization has the rights to even do the NFT? So what we do is we have this thing called video provenance. We actually attach a video that's in a server connected to a legal contract, and that video is proxied into the smart contract of the NFT, and we whitelist the NFT in the marketplace So any user, before they purchase that NFT, could watch the video and know, okay, Olivier was behind us, Balmain was behind us, Snoop Dogg was behind us, whoever it is. So it's a user interface that gives a user confidence that there is a legal contract of the IP rights for that NFT that is properly given to the user that's buying it. We respect art and storytelling. So this is part of our NFT, Mint NFT's DNA. It's so important to protect IP rights. In this new meta world, we cannot have people just plagiarizing work, whether it's original work or even the brands. We have to have proper IP rights as we work in the metaverse as well. It's about bringing people together for us, these virtual events that we did. It's finding people who love Barbie and Balmain and brought them together and built community. This is an empathetic approach that we believe in, that we're tapping into existing fan and user behavior rather than, again, speaking at them. It's much easier to just sell the NFT. Why did we do a virtual event? Why did we invite people in? Why did the president of Mattel go on this show and the CMO of Balmain? Because they want to engage their users. They don't want to look like they're speaking at them. It invites collaboration. Users want to be part of the conversation. They want to collaborate, not only with the brand, but with each other. You're going to see a lot more brands collaborating with indie artists, and that's going to be the cool next thing. The brands aren't going to only be creating their own artwork, they're going to be working with indie artists, graffiti artists from all over the world. It's going to be a beautiful thing. So this is really about our new creation story. We are helping brands recreate their story in the Web3 world of how to engage their consumers in a deeper and newer way. So with that, I want to say thank you very much for your time. And if you have any questions, there's my email. You can ask me any email questions about Web3 and Mint NFT. Thank you very much.